Hello, book lovers, and thanks for listening. I post new chapters every week. If you like my work, please remember to like and subscribe to help me build my channel. The Stillwater Girls by Minka Kent. Narrated by Jennifer Schafer. Chapter 26. Nicolette. Thank you so much for doing this, I say over the phone to Dr. Pettigrew, the psychiatrist who evaluated the girls at the hospital their first night. I feel better knowing you're there in case anything upsets them. And I could use someone, in case the media shows up. They've been leaving us alone so far, but you just never know.
It's really no problem, she says. It's my day for rounds at the hospital, but I got someone to cover for me in the morning, so it worked out. I just can't stop thinking about those girls. I'll help any way I can.
The girls are dressed in various items pulled from my closet, all of which hang off their lanky frames. I thought about buying new clothes for them myself, but I haven't the slightest idea what sizes they wear. The clothes they were wearing when they showed up were handmade. No size tags for obvious reasons. A short and protected shopping excursion seemed like the best way to handle this. Besides, it might be good for them to get out and interact with people who aren't medical professionals or police officers, to get the smallest sample of true freedom. I can't imagine forcing them to stay cooped up and hidden away in my house after they just escaped from a similar situation. We should be at the boutique in about an hour, I say as I pad into the next room, passing the stairs and glancing up. The girls are supposed to be getting ready, but the house is so quiet I can hardly tell they're here. I expected teenagers to be louder, but these two aren't typical teenagers in the slightest. They're simply little humans, suspended in their own reality.
I'll see you soon,
Dr. Pettigrew says before hanging up. When I get a chance today, I'm going to have to talk to her about how best to introduce the girls to Brant. They seem to be fearful of men, and from what I understand, they'd never seen one until that man broke into their home and held them captive. Why a man would randomly come across their home, a home that no one knew existed, and proceed to hold them captive for a number of days, using nothing but threats. He didn't hurt them, didn't abuse or assault them sexually or otherwise, but he was going to take them somewhere. Even the local police are scratching their heads, which isn't to say a lot because landing a case like this hasn't happened in the 150-year history of the department. But still, a large man with dark hair and marks on his face would stick out like a sore thumb in a town with a population of 2,000, and yet no one around here has ever seen or heard of anyone remotely fitting that description. The other day, Deputy May briefly mentioned looking into a couple of missing children cold cases from years ago, saying they were trying to match up ages and descriptions. But she said it could be a lengthy process. Besides, Wren's age doesn't appear to fit either of the profiles, and while Sage claims to be a teenager, her appearance is closer to that of a 12-year-old. Heading upstairs to check on the girls, I knock on the guest room door, which is already open. "Girls," I call when there's no answer.
In here,
Wren says from the bathroom. "We should get going soon. Dr. Pettigrew is going to meet us there." I check my watch. Glancing toward Sage, I watch as she brushes her teeth in front of the mirror, my clothes hanging off her tiny frame and her dark hair sopping wet, soaking the collar of her shirt. It's 30 degrees out. I can't let her go outside like this. "Sage, would you mind if I braided your hair?" I offer. "It would look so pretty in a French braid. Then we could get it off your shoulders. It's a little chilly outside. I'd hate for you to get sick." She places her toothbrush back in the holder before meeting my gaze in the mirror's reflection, and then she nods. "Wren, I can braid your hair too, if you'd like," I offer. I don't wait for her to respond before I head to my room, returning with hair ties and a can of aerosol hairspray. 15 minutes later, I've braided their hair and led them down to the shoe closet, pulling out tennis shoes that are 2 sizes too big for each of them. But they're the only thing that will work because at least we can tie the laces tight enough to hold them on. Grabbing my keys off the console by the back door, I jingle them in my hands. The girls are surprisingly not as nervous as I expected them to be. This will only be the second time they've ventured into town in their lives, and they've never set foot in a shop or store. It's a peculiar sight, these two in their baggy clothes and sopping wet braids, and still hollowed-out expressions. There's a little more color and life in their complexions than there was a couple of days ago, but they still remind me of abandoned baby bunnies, always together, always with a cagey glint in their shiny eyes. "Shall we?" I ask, pointing towards the garage entrance. The two follow me, sneakers shuffling against the hardwood floors. When we get to the car, I grab the doors for them. "Don't forget your seatbelts." I watch as they tug and pull their restraints into place and wait for the satisfying click that ensures they're safely buckled. Climbing into the driver's seat a moment later, I start the engine, glancing into the rear-view mirror where Wren is seated, staring toward Brant's parked Tesla beside us. "You'll be meeting my husband soon," I tell her, realizing he comes home in 2 days. "But only if you're ready." The chime of my phone fills the car speakers, while Brant's name flashes on the control center screen. Speak of the devil. I press the button on the dash to transfer the call from Bluetooth to my device so he's not on speakerphone, and I put in an earbud. "Hey," I answer as I back out of the driveway.
"Nick,
He says in a groggy voice, as if he just woke up.
how's, how's everything going?"
"Great. Better than expected, actually,"
"Listen, I'm sorry about last night."
he says, exhaling. I'm not surprised he's apologizing. Brant hates conflict, or at least the Brant I know does.
I was a little blindsided, to say the least.
How does it feel, Brant? Understandable. I pull onto the highway, headed into town, going easy on the gas. On the way home from the hospital yesterday, I noticed they tensed up and grabbed each other's hand anytime the car went above 30 miles per hour or hit a pothole.
I saw the articles
He says.
about the girls,
Yeah,
and I think it's incredible that you're taking them in.
he says.
I don't know that a lot of people would take that on.
I bite my tongue, keeping myself from telling him that they're not feral children. As far as anyone can tell, they're just two young women who grew up isolated from the modern world. Growing up in the wilderness doesn't make them wild any more than standing in a garage makes me a car.
Anyway, I'm coming home a day early
He says.
to help you.
I haven't yet told him about the girls being wary of men, and I was hoping to buy some extra time to prepare them, maybe tell them more about him, show them photos and videos. You really don't have to.
Nick, it's already done. I'm leaving first thing in the morning. Should be home by dinner tomorrow night.
In the distance, I spot rumble strips and a stop sign. I need to give the girls a heads up. Can I call you later? I ask.
Of course.
I end the call and point over the dash. The car is going to vibrate in a few seconds. It's nothing to worry about, okay? As I press my foot into the brake, we slow to a stop, the car vibrating over the ridges in the road. When I glance into the rear-view mirror, the girls don't seem the least bit fazed. Exhaling, I flick on my right turn signal and silently scold myself for not giving them enough credit. I don't know much about them yet, and I don't know what all they've endured, but I do know they're irrepressible little things, fighters in every sense of the word. A minute later, I'm pulling into a parking spot outside the Jade Boutique on Hancock Drive. Dr. Pettigrew is seated on a painted park bench outside the Victorian house turned shop, and she smiles when she sees us. Wren, Sage, you remember Dr. Pettigrew, I say as we climb out.
It's so nice to see you again,
The doctor says, tugging her pearl-buttoned cardigan down around her pencil-thin hips.
I've spoken to one of the sales associates inside. She's got a fitting room set up for us, and she's already pulled a few items.
Getting two teenage girls complete wardrobes from a privately owned boutique isn't going to be cheap, but I don't think these two are exactly mall-ready yet. There's a Walmart 15 miles away over in Pearson Township, but even that might be overwhelming, with its abundance of fluorescent lighting and never-ending maze of aisles. Climbing the steps to the front door, I spot a handwritten sign that reads, "Closed for private shopping event," just as I'd requested. Jade Boutique is ready for us. Soft music plays from speakers in the ceiling, and the faint scent of gardenia wafts from a candle centered on a marble-topped console beside a navy velvet settee. 3 dressing rooms with white satin curtains for doors flank the left wall, and a cash register resting upon a jewelry display case flanks the right. There isn't much to pick from here, and I don't think teens are Jade's targeted demographic, judging by all the florals. But I have no doubt we can find them enough to get by. And if I can figure out their sizes, I can order a few more things online when we get home. Hi there, how are you? A young woman with a sleek onyx braid down her back, honey-toned skin, and bright fuchsia lipstick struts towards the girls, extending her right hand. I'm Monica. I'll be helping you today. I've shopped here a handful of times before, mostly out of boredom since this place isn't exactly my style, and never once has Monica greeted me with a handshake. I was worried the locals might give the girls the same cold shoulder they gave me, but maybe I was projecting. Maybe they'll be embraced with open arms. The girls glance at her extended hand for an awkward second before Monica quickly retreats. I'm sure Dr. Pettigrew briefed her before we got here, and I'm sure as a Stillwater local she's seen and heard all about these girls. But it's impossible to know which words and concepts and behaviors are foreign and which are familiar to them. If you'd like to follow me, Monica says, turning on her beige Chanel flats, which I'm 99% sure are replicas. No one in Stillwater would spend $1,000 on shoes, no matter how fashion conscious they claim to be. I've pulled a few things for you and hung them in your rooms. If you want to get started, we can see where we're at size-wise and go from there. Sound good? Her voice is high-pitched, and her manicured hands clasped together. I'm not sure if she had way too much coffee this morning, or if she's overcompensating with the friendliness because these two make her nervous. Either way, it doesn't seem to faze the girls, who head straight into their dressing rooms and begin staring at all the clothes on hangers and hooks. Wren traces her hand over the fabric of a navy gingham dress before inspecting the seams.
Everything all right?
Dr. Pettigrew asks.
If you don't like that style, we can find you something else.
Wren's pink lips curl. It's beautiful. Collectively, we release our held breaths, and Monica steps toward them, fussing with the ties on the dressing room curtains. Go ahead, Monica says. Try it on. I take a seat on the settee next to the doctor, and we wait forever before Wren emerges from behind the drapes, the blue gingham dress fitting her reedy frame perfectly, even giving the illusion of a girlish figure in parts. So, I rise. What do you think? With glassy eyes, she bites her lower lip before whispering, I love it. Sage emerges from her room next, a pair of skinny jeans hanging off her and a button-down top that might look better on someone 2 or 3 times her age. Tugging on her pants, Sage wrinkles her nose. I don't like these. They make me walk funny. Wren laughs, then Sage. Sprightly giggles fill the small shop. It almost makes it easy to forget that the forest that surrounds our quaint little town is filled with police, search dogs, and volunteers, all combing through the thick trees and rough terrain in search of bodies, dead or alive. I've never seen such little spirits lifted so high, and it sends a squeeze to my chest. In this moment, I wholeheartedly believe everything's going to be okay. Monica prompts them to try on the next outfit, and they disappear behind the curtains once more. Grabbing my phone from my purse, I fire off a quick text to my hairstylist to see if she can fit the girls in for haircuts today. A moment later, I clear my throat, leaning closer to Dr. Pettigrew. My husband's coming home tomorrow. He's been gone for work, and they haven't met him yet. The doctor turns her focus on me. They freaked out when they saw those male cops that morning, I add, and they made sure there were no male doctors or nurses treating them in the hospital.
That was a precaution,
Dr. Pettigrew says.
I don't think they're afraid of men so much as they're afraid of the man who held them captive in their home. They'll be fine. You're a kind woman to take them in. I imagine your husband is just as kind as you are.
Placing my palm over my beating heart, I offer a close-lipped smile. Her words both comfort and sadden me all at once. Once upon a time, Brant was the kind of man who'd help stranded motorists and nurse baby birds back to health. He once stayed up all night long baking me a 3-layer chocolate cake from a recipe he coerced out of my favorite New York bake shop. After the local bakery screwed up his order and we had company coming to town the next day for my birthday. He used to fix my coffee for me after my post-run shower, and he'd treat me to fresh flowers every time he went into town. Always roses, always white. Once a year, he'd surprise me with a romantic getaway. I always knew it was coming, but I never knew when or where we were going. He'd simply wake me up on a random morning and tell me to pack my bag. Recalling all the sweet things Brant used to do for me does nothing but paint a vivid picture of a hard truth. The man I'm married to isn't the man I married. And as soon as he comes home, I need to get back to finding out exactly who he is. The last couple of days have provided a temporary and much appreciated distraction from my personal chaos. But reality, much like a scorned ex-lover, will not be ignored. End of chapter 26.